was her pitch to us? Cosplay, you know you want to. And we were like, yeah, we do. That's also the name of the talk. And I foolishly like to do things at Nerd Night without asking anyone before I do it. And I unofficially declared a cosplay contest. Is there anyone in costume tonight?
Luigi.
Come here, Luigi. Come here, Luigi. Where are you?
Come here, Luigi.
Oh,
he's in
Luigi's getting a beer. Luigi's getting a beer. Don't
Luigi gets to do it.
No?
Any Mario Brothers.
You want to go on stage?
Yeah, come on up.
Sure.
Alright, cool.
Any Mario Brothers get to come on stage.
Player one's overrated.
Anyone else in costume? Luigi wins by default. And fucking Luigi! You get whiskey, sir. No, you get more whiskey. I'm drunk, you're gonna be drunk. Michelle, thank you so much. Give it up for Cosplay Curious. You know you want to.
Okay, so I'm just going to start because I grew up doing theater and I can project. So this is Nerd Night. I don't have to ask if everybody here has seen the Avengers movie, right? Do I have to ask if you stayed until all the way at the end of the credits? Do I really have to ask that? I laughed so hard at that, you guys, because I recognize that moment. I have lived that moment. You will never convince me that that scene was written whole cloth from the imagination of the writer, Joss Whedon. He based that on an actual event that he saw, no doubt, again and again. Lunchtime, day 3 of a 3-day con. That's a bunch of cosplayers. Some of them are wearing weird costumes, some of them are in plain clothes, and silently eating, staring into the middle distance because they are tired and dehydrated and sore. So why do we do it? I'm going to tell you a story. I know this guy's name is Dale. He lives in the UK. He, like myself, perhaps you can tell, is a huge Doctor Who fan. And Dale likes cosplay as the 4th Doctor. He has a beautiful season 18 costume that was designed for Tom Baker by June Hudson, who's a legendary sci-fi costume designer. And it's a picture of him walking down the street, flanked by stormtroopers, with a woman on his arm. Now, Dale belongs to a group of cosplayers called the Iconic Legion. They're a club. They go to hospitals in their costumes. They go to charity events, and they help raise money for various causes in their costumes, just as a side thing. They create their costumes like me because they love the characters that they're portraying, but they do good works in their costumes. And this woman, I wish I had the picture, but I lost a lot of pictures in a terrible hard drive crash. She's tickled pink. I think she was on her way to a dentist appointment or something, and she just happened to see my friend Dale, dressed as Tom Baker. And he took her by the arm and escorted her to her dentist's office. And she is laughing and smiling, and she just can't believe it. I gave this talk a couple days ago at Ren Faire Austin, and all I had to do was say the word Doctor Who, and this girl in the front row who didn't know who I was dressed as lit up. And I walked through the fair, and a guy from the planetarium booth went, "Peter Davidson, 5th Doctor, that is classic Doctor Who, get over here, I need a picture." That's one of the reasons why we do it. So, just like some grown man will go to a sporting event and dress and, take off his shirt and be painted burnt orange with a cow head on his chest, I'm flying my 5th Doctor colors. So that's a bit why we do it. Who I think I am? My name is Michelle Elbert, and I'm a member of ATX Hackerspace in Austin, Texas. Thank you. And I have a degree in theater with an emphasis in costume and makeup design. The first time, I think you could say that I cosplayed when I was a little girl. I had a dress, and I called it my Little House on the Prairie dress. And I really wanted a members-only jacket in brown because it kind of reminded me of the jackets the Warriors from the original Battlestar Galactica wore. And I did a lot of community theater, and then when I was in college, I did a lot of LARP. It was college, everybody experiments with LARP in college. I worked for a while at Concord Studios, which is owned by a gentleman who you might have heard of. His name is Roger Corman. You can work there. You can work anywhere. On a TV show called Black Scorpion series. Oh my God! There are people here who have seen that. Thank you. Awesome. And then I realized, hey, living out of your car totally sucks, you guys. So now I work it down. But I keep on costuming and making costumes for myself and my friends to keep my hands in. Because I love doing it, I love the characters that I portray, and I love the reactions that I get, even if somebody doesn't know who I'm supposed to be. So, cosplay, costuming, what is that? The term cosplay comes out of anime fandom, but dressing as your favorite characters goes back much farther than that. You could argue that Louis Quatorze of France was a cosplayer because he used to dress up as Apollo and walk around these parties pretending to be Apollo, or maybe he actually thought he was Apollo, which may or may not be cosplay, but go with me on that. One of my favorite doctors, Peter Davidson, used to tell stories about how he'd come over, to the United States for conventions, and people would be dressed as the Fifth Doctor, and he would also be in costume, and he was like, it was super weird, so he stopped wearing his costume to conventions. Stuff like that happened. One day, I was reading an article a friend of mine, who goes by the name Sir Guido, wrote for a blog called theDoucheyDM.com, and the article was called Cosplay Abuse. Now, most of the article was about people going to conventions who aren't necessarily with the convention and kind of harassing the cosplayers. He went on to say, if you're going to cosplay, you have to try. You have to put in some modicum of effort. And I was like, okay, Mr. Grumpy Poop Pants, who are you to be the arbiter of whether or not somebody's tried? I mean, everybody has different skill sets. Everybody has different, budgets that they can afford. Everybody has different kinds of research. Resources that they can tap. Then I scroll down and I saw this picture. Now, for those of you who can't read what that box says Gundam. And for those of you who don't know what Gundam is, that is Gundam. Who are we to judge? Well, maybe I chose a poor example. But look at that guy. Everybody, just look at the look on that guy's face. That is the picture of intensity. He is really, really selling it. This is testing my limits of my, personal, plan to always be all-inclusive. But look at that. You can see the veins sticking out of his arms. He's really, really in that position. And that's something that I want to stress to you guys. When you're in a costume, you just have to own it. A friend of mine, her name is Bree, wanted to go to a Halloween party that her dad was throwing. And her dad's been traveling a lot. She hadn't seen it. She just wanted to go to this party and hang out with her dad. And she didn't want to wear a costume. She wasn't feeling the costume thing that year. But then she found that everybody was going to wear a costume. Everybody was so excited about wearing a costume, you guys. And she was like, I don't wear a costume. It's going to be weird. It's going to be, people are going to be like, why aren't you in a costume? You're going to be a hard time. So she came to me and she said, Michelle, I just want to go and buy a costume and I need your opinion. And that's fine, you guys. If you want to go and buy a costume and you can afford it and it's what you like and you think it's cool, then go for it. Some people say, if you don't make it yourself, then it doesn't count. Wrong. So, just don't let people bully you into, doing something that's not doing something that you want to do and that you're excited about. But we went to this Halloween store, and she found this little pirate outfit in a bag, and she put it on, and she looked super cute, you guys. She wouldn't let me take a picture though. And she was standing in front of the mirror. She's trying it on. She's standing in front of the mirror. She kept fiddling with the shirt. She kept fiddling with the pants. The problem is those costumes, while they're kind of expensive, the fabric is very, clingy, and it kind of feels sheer where it's really not. And she was
she was no, stranger to wearing clean clothes, but it was clean in a way she didn't quite, she wasn't used to it. She just wasn't comfortable. And you could tell that she wasn't comfortable. She couldn't stop fiddling with the outfit. I said, take it off. Let's get changed. Let's go to Target. We went to Target. We found an exercise outfit that she liked and was super cute. We went to the craft store and bought some shiny yarn, and we sewed it on, and she was a cyborg. Boom, done, end of story. Yeah? Even Luigi, who just came up here, hat, mustache, gloves. He was wearing a hoodie and pants. Did anybody notice that? No, he didn't, because hat, mustache, gloves. It's that easy, you guys. So it's important to be comfortable emotionally. If you, that old character on Saturday Night Live, Fernando, who used to say, "It is better to look good than to feel good." That's total bull honky, you guys. It's certainly easy to feel good and not look good if you're not comfortable, if you're not feeling it with how you look, then it's going to detract from your costume overall. And so that's really important, is to be emotionally comfortable in your outfit. But it's also important to be, physically, it's also important to be physically, comfortable in your outfit. So take care of yourself. Look at that. Check out the 1,000-yard stare. See, this is another shawarma moment, people. Check out that 1,000-yard stare on Darth Maul there. He looks amazing. Just look at it. These guys haven't sat all day. These guys haven't had any water. They're tired. They're not bored. They're exhausted. They're going to fall over. And so this is just one example. It's okay. At the end of the day, you're tired. You're sitting down. But this is just an example of what I'm talking about. When I was at Dragon Con last year, I saw a guy dressed as the ski instructor from South Park, and he had a sign that was this wide, and it said, "If your costume is this wide, you're going to have a bad time." So it's really important. It's really important. Comfortable shoes. Comfortable shoes are very important. Being able to sit is very important. If you can't sit, you can't go to the bathroom, you guys, and that's really bad. If you go to a con and you can't sit all day, cranberry juice. Lots and lots of cranberry juice, okay? It's also important to incorporate pockets somehow into your outfit. And because you need a little bit of cash, your ID, a place to store your badge during photo ops, a little sewing kit, stuff like that. And if you have a prop, like a cane or a lightsaber, a gun, it's important to have a place to put it. If you need both your hands. So shoulder strap, wrist strap, a holster, because, I have props that don't have these things. There's exceptions to every rule. But if you can get away with it, you want somewhere to be able to put your prop away so that it's connected to you. Otherwise, you're just asking for it to get knocked over or damaged or walked away. And nobody wants that. The ability to dress and undress without help, this goes back to being able to sit down. A lot of cosplayers are lucky enough to have handlers, or as I like to call them, significant others who put up with the crap. Not everybody has a friend or significant other who's willing to walk around and, carry your bottle of water. So that's something to keep in mind. What's most important is that you must always be open to be inspired by something. So this young lady I met at a Doctor Who convention in Los Angeles called Gallifrey One, she saw these stupid, useless hipster glasses, and she said, "Hey, those kind of look like the eye plate on K9." And so she made this super cute dress and wore those glasses. She got a necklace to be like the little name tag. She made herself a little couple of ears. The next year, this year at Cosplay Curious, there were 4 other women dressed kind of like this. She started a trend, this gal. And this is another thing, is that you don't have to know how to sew. Like I said, my friend Ray and I went to Target. We, glue, hot glue. There, I have worn costumes made entirely out of duct tape. My friends have worn costumes held together by nothing but hot glue and wishful thinking. So, it's okay. Do I have to know how to sew? No. Do I have to be screen accurate? Clearly not. Do I have to be the same age, height, weight, gender, race as the character that I want to portray? No. This year at Gallifrey 1, I saw June Hudson speak. If you don't know who she is, she designed for Doctor Who, she designed for the later seasons of Blake's 7, and many, many others. Yeah, I know, right? I know, right? I met her. She's so cool. She said things like, I think that silk is a damn nuisance. She was so awesome. She says, let the costume fit the actor. This goes back to being comfortable. You know, I'm not a tall, skinny, blonde English dude who is the platonic Englishman. I'm a short, plump, half Jewish brunette. I'm a woman, and sometimes I dress as a character who's a man, and I do what's called cosplay. I have a costume that is Jamie McCrimmon, also from Doctor Who, and he's from when the show was in black and white, so my costume is completely monochromatic. Hair, makeup, outfit. I am a big fan of conceptual cosplay. And when I dress as Jamie McCrimmon, it works a little too well. I don't like that. I don't like that. I'm a woman. I love Doctor Who. I love the Fifth Doctor. That's what this is about. You know? So, anyway, going back. Always be ready to be inspired. And you should accessorize. And I'm really sad that I put that guy on the bottom, because most of you can't see that the dude down in the corner is a 10th Doctor doing the dick in a box thing, except it's the TARDIS. Also, my mom is probably going to watch this video, and I have to apologize to her for saying dick in a box twice. So anyway, I'm really proud of that joke. So, accessorizing is important. Like I said, Luigi, hat, mustache, gloves, and you got the reed. Think about what are the bullet points, what are the things, the iconic things about a particular character. You know, K9, ears, you know, faceplate, gray. It could be any outfit. You can make it, or you can buy it and glue or paint or whatever onto it. I really like making props. This is my theater background coming through. And this is also where belonging to HX Hackerspace, if I can plug them again, comes in really handy. Those Nuka-Cola caps that you see over there between my head and Maria. I painted some bottle caps white, and I painted them red, and I ran them through our laser engraver and burned off the red. And that's how I got that, effect. So, accessorize, but also be ready to be inspired. I was at a supermarket, I was going to buy some mustard. I picked up the mustard, I said, this mustard container is the same shape as the plasma grenades from Halo. And they're also kind of like the frag grenades from Fallout. So I'm going to empty out the mustard in some other container, pick this thing, and throw it at somebody. And so again, one last piece of practical advice that I have for you is to always go back to the source, even if you're doing something conceptual, or even if you're going for steampunk. You know, think about what is the source of the thing that I'm trying to create a costume as, and go back and look at reference material. Go back to the source. Don't look at pictures of period dramas with period clothing. Go back to the actual woodcuts. Because once you know the rules of a thing, then you can come up with really interesting ways to break them. So, for example, I am dressed as what is known as a Femme 5, or a Lady Doctor, and here is the Fifth Doctor. So you can see where I'm coming at with this outfit. Celery, hat, beige coat with some reddish orange trim. I spent a lot of times looking at pictures of this guy in various seasons, in his various iterations of that wardrobe. And this is what I came up with. I took the high points and I let the costume fit the actor, which in this case is me. So, another thing that you should keep in mind when you create a costume, particularly one that is more conceptual, is something that I learned from the late and formidable Frida Paris-Jones, who was the costume director for the Southern California Renaissance Pleasure Fair, where I worked for about 10 years. She gave me these guidelines, the 2 rules of 3. At least 3 colors, and at least 3 textures. So I need a volunteer you. Hello, what's your name?
Heather.
You're Heather. All right. Everybody take a look at the lovely and talented Heather here. The thing that this keeps from the thing that the 2 rules of 3 help you with is to keep your costume from looking like a costume. It makes it more like clothing. And you can break those rules in interesting ways, but it really helps if you kind of go for this. So I chose, for example, once again, you have a little bit of a beigey and off-whitey, but you can see she's got different textures. There's the jersey knit and the well-washed t-shirt and the lovely houndstooth. I could never wear houndstooth pants. I'm really jealous. You look great in those. And you have the shininess of her shoes and the lovely fluffiness of her tail. And so it keeps it all from looking samey. Because at the Renaissance fair, you would sometimes get these beginners who would come to the fair and their outfits would be made entirely hat, shirt, bodice, skirts, entirely out of broadcloth, which is this sort of shiny cotton fabric. And it all looks sort of samey. It really looked like a costume. So you kind of see where I'm going with this? Yes? Excellent. Thank you so much. So this is just some guidelines. Now, another way to perhaps, I really love Dr. Who, you guys. Sorry. So good. I know I was with my people. So another way, I'm going to give you some nerd night homework, you guys. So another way to see how this comes into play is to go home and use Google, and for God's sake, keep Safe Search on, or not, sure, and Google the phrase TARDIS dress. So here's some examples of the TARDIS through the history, the 50 years history of the show. And you can see almost the 2 rules of 3. There's 3 colors. There's white, there's blue, there's black, and then there's different textures. There's the glossiness or even the pebbliness of some of the windows and some of the iterations of the TARDIS. There's the glossiness of the glass. There's the grain, the wood grain, and the sort of weathered texture of the Yale lock and the handle. And people have been, for the last couple of years, have been taking inspiration from the TARDIS and making outfits, dresses, suits in some cases. In the case of gentlemen, there are very few male TARDIS cosplayers, but they're out there, and they're totally awesome. And it'll give you an idea of all the different ways that people can be inspired and how you can use a thing that I was taught about, which is called a color inspiration, where you take a picture and you take your inspiration of the color of your costume from that picture in a way that, and that's how you mix your colors. So it's predominantly blue, a little bit of black, and a good amount of white accents. So that's my talk. And do you guys have any questions? I see one question over there. Funny story. So I used to wear costumes to work. I used to work in the video game industry after I decided I didn't want to live out of my car, but still wanted to work somewhere cool. So I worked for a while at Blizzard Entertainment, and everybody would dress up for Halloween, and sometimes during Renaissance Fair season, I would end up having to work on the weekends, and so I would wear my garb to work, because I made that outfit, damn it, and I'm going to wear it. Luckily, lots of people at Blizzard at the time also worked there. But this year, I now work at Dell, and I showed up to work on Halloween not wearing a costume. And everybody said, "Oh, Michelle, we thought you would wear a costume. We were expecting you to wear a costume. We were looking forward to it." And I looked around and I said, "Screw you, Hippie, none of you were wearing a costume. You want me to wear a costume, but you're not wearing a costume, so duh." It's a little weird. Do you have any other questions? Yes. generally do once you get dressed up? Hydrate. No. Generally, when you are, you have to consider your venue when you get dressed up. Are you going to be inside or are you going to be outside? And if you're going to be outside, ladies, clunky heel shoes. Do not sink into the ground if you can help it. And you walk around, and people take pictures of you. Some people stay in character the whole time they're dressed up. Even at whether it's at a Renaissance fair or at conventions, they stay in character. And they play with people the way that, Mickey Mouse at Disneyland plays with people. It's for some people, it's just about flying your colors, for walking around and non-verbally communicating something about yourself. So, for instance, if you've got if you're doing steampunk, you have to ask yourself questions about the character, the persona that you are playing. You can create your Victorian foundation, and then you can change your accessories and change who you are. So, a friend of mine, Matt, we made him a cavalry coat out of white material, and he wears it, and he calls it a lab coat. And so he can put on a belt and put on a bunch of tools, a pair of goggles on a cap, and he's an airship engineering officer. Or he can take that off, and he can, put on a sword and a pistol, and he's a cavalry officer. And, ask yourself, am I high class? Am I low class? Am I simplistic? Or do I like fancy things, whether or not I can afford them? What do I do for a living? How do I feel about what I do for a living? Do I like it, or do I wish I was doing something else? And all these things inform the things that you carry with you, how you accessorize your outfit. And and that's how you draw people in and interact with people. I work at the Renaissance Fair, I like interacting with people. And I do that through my cosplay. And whether it's just, I see a person from 20 feet away, and they recognize what I'm supposed to be, and I see them do it, and they see me seeing them, recognizing what I'm supposed to be, and we have this moment, like, oh, Fifth Doctor, I know that guy. I'm like, yeah, me too. And then we both go on our day, but we had this like connection that doesn't end up on Craigslist. So, is there one more question? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay.
What's the worst costume choice you've ever made?
My worst costume choice that I have ever made.
How did it backfire?
And how did it backfire? Well, okay, Mom is definitely not seeing this video. When you work at the Renaissance Fair, it's kind of difficult to, you remember my rule about being able to sit down and go to the bathroom? Well, so one of the ways that you get around that, and one of the ways that historically women have gotten around that, is crotchless bloomers. And I'm a woman. And, you're a guy, so I don't want to go too deep into what happened, because men tend to get uncomfortable when women bring up that subject. That thing that happens that causes us to ride horses and go hang gliding, at least in the commercials. Aren't you glad you asked? Me or you? Like I said, be emotionally comfortable. Okay, well, there you go.
So I'm glad you touched on it earlier. I'm going to take a risk in my question, but cosplay is obviously a nerdy activity, but there's a disconnect in that most nerds might not want to draw attention to themselves.
Yes.
So obviously part of the reason, there are lots of reasons to cosplay, but part of it is you're wanting people to see you and to see you dressed up. What do you say to someone who makes the wrong assumption about that and, oh, she's just looking for attention? Which is not a fair thing to say, but I'm sure you've heard it before. The whole fake geek girl thing, or the, cosplay is not consent thing, is a whole other talk in and of itself. I mean, or an entire night, even. Yeah, look, I was in theater. I worked at the Renaissance Fair.
I'm standing here talking to all of you. Clearly, I like it when people pay attention to me. But one of the things, and I hope I made this clear, one of the things that it's not just, you're not just seeing me, and you're not just paying attention to me, you're seeing my outfit, and that's one of the reasons why I am more comfortable doing conceptual cosplay. I don't know if you notice it, you guys, but I'm kind of fat. And, when I dress as a Fifth Doctor in a way that's flattering to me, or I dress as Jane McCrimmon, but I make the whole outfit monochromatic, I'm doing something that is beyond myself, and it takes away from the things that I don't like about myself, and accentuates the things that I like about the character that I'm portraying.
You think you're beautiful.
Oh.
Yes.
And so, because I said, does that answer the question? I just want to tell you one more story, and then I will get off the hell off the stage. So, at Gala Parade 1 in Los Angeles, after the convention, it's a really good one, you guys. You should go if you can. There was a panel that was just Mark Shepard taking questions from the audience. For those of you who don't know by name who Mark Shepard is, he played Badger on Firefly. He played Canton Delaware III on the recent season of Doctor Who. He plays Crowley on Supernatural. If there's a show nerds love, this guy is on it, right? And it was just him alone on the stage taking questions from the audience. And if you can ever see that, definitely do it. Because what's really interesting is that Mark Shepard is a nerd's nerd. He is one of us, you guys. Seriously. And what I loved about the whole thing, I never seen him speak alone before. I mean, I've watched YouTubes of him, doing the cast reading with a middleman at Comic-Con at one time, but I've never seen him speak on his own. What you get when you ask a question from Mark Shepard is not the answer you're asking for, but is always the answer that you deserve. So, this woman went up before me, and she asked a really interesting question about Canton Delaware III, his character on Doctor Who, and I don't want to spoil. If you haven't seen the last half of this current season, then I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it was this really interesting question about Canton's backstory, shall we say. And it provoked a really wonderful answer from him. And then she went away, and I stepped up to the microphone, and he said, all right, this is the last question. And I went, how am I've got a really silly, stupid question, and that was such an amazing question and such an amazing answer. He's like, it's okay, just go ahead and ask the question. And I wasn't wearing a costume at that moment. I said, I'm a cosplayer. And I have to admit that occasionally I have some anxiety, or even in one case, a nightmare about what would happen if I run into the person who plays the character I'm dressed as. So, have you ever had an interesting encounter with cosplayer, whether it's dressed as you or dressed as something else? And he looked at me, and he didn't give me the answer I asked for. And what he said was, he looked straight at me. And I apologize if I cried during this, because I cried when he was saying it to me. He said, I think you guys are so brave. You're so brave, and you're so talented, and you're so imaginative, and you're so friendly and giving of your time, and you make people happy just doing what you do and walking around. And that's amazing. You really wear your heart on your sleeve. So, I just think you guys are so great. Does that answer your question, he said? And I went, no, but that's the best possible answer you could give. And so I'm going to go back to my seat and cry. Hackerspace.